What is up, NFC West football fans, and welcome into another edition of the NFC West Roundtable powered by BetUS. Week 8 is in the books, and it was a great Week 8 for the majority of the NFC West. Tonight, we'll be diving into all of the games within the division this past weekend. Before we do, a couple of housekeeping items for you. Real quick, right now over on Autograph, we're still telling you, download the app because it's one of the best apps out there. If you haven't downloaded it already, make sure to get in on it. The link is pinned in the live chat right now and in the description below. You just click that link. It'll take you to your App Store or Google Play Store. You download the app. It's completely free. You use the promo code RTS. From there, you're off and running. You select your favorite team, and you'll be set up with a hub customized to you with all of your favorite content all in one place. And the best part, when you consume that content on the Autograph app, you will earn fan coins, and you can use those coins for anything from jerseys to tickets to your favorite team's games. It's the best app for getting all your favorite sports content in one spot and earning rewards while doing so. Make sure to download the app. It's completely free. Link in the description below. It's also pinned in the chat. Just use the code RTS once you download it, and you'll be all set. One more thing I want to share with you. The boys are officially on Spotify. Yes, we are now in podcast form. So if you should ever miss a live episode on Tuesday, which I know you never will, if it happens to happen, you make a mistake, you're not able to tune in with the fellas on Tuesday night, don't worry. If you're in the car driving to work, you're at the gym, wherever, you can hop on Spotify, type in NFC West Roundtable into Spotify, and boom, you're ready to rock. All of our previous episodes are on there, and this episode and all of the episodes moving forward will be on there. So podcast form for the NFC West boys. If you miss us live, you can check us out through Spotify. All right, with all that out of the way, let's get into Week 8. And in order, we'll bring in the victors, the fellas that are wearing the shades tonight. My man Jake, my man Jesse, top of the division Mike, and my man Brandon. Fellas, so good to have you in off of, man, this Week 8 was crazy. The games were nuts. It was a very exciting, very entertaining Week 8. We're going to get into all of the games, of course, from this past weekend, but we have to start where Week 8 started itself, and that's this past Thursday night. And my goodness, look out. Here come these LA Rams, fellas. Before we talk about the Rams getting it done against the Vikings, we have to talk about the current makeup of this division because, as you know, we've been looking at the updated odds each week on BetUS, and it wasn't all that long ago that the LA Rams were plus 1,600 to win this division. If you go and take a look right now on BetUS, here are the updated odds. And the LA Rams have gone from the basement, a long shot. They are now 50 points removed from being the second overall favorite in this division. As you can see in front of you, the Niners are favored to win it at minus 125. The Cardinals, second place at plus 400. The Rams at plus 450 and the Seahawks at plus 500. This division is getting absolutely insane. Every team's got a chance, and all three outside of the Niners have long odds to win it. Craziness. If you want to get in on it, the promo code's YouTube150. That'll get you 150% sign-up bonus up to $2,000 on your first deposit with BetUS and 125% bonus on your next two after that. I cannot get over those odds. Jake, you're going to have to fill us in. Just a couple of weeks ago, right? These Rams seem to be down and out. They have their bye week. They get a bit healthier. They get a W over the Raiders, and people are thinking, well, who cares? They got to take on the mighty Vikings. The Rams up and down looked like the better team on Thursday Night Football. So talk to me. How much of a difference has the last couple of weeks made? Where are your Rams at now after getting it done against the Vikings?
Oh, I mean, they're one of the toughest teams in the NFC. As long as they have Kupp and Nakua, these guys stay healthy. Matthew Stafford's the best quarterback in the NFC. Jesse said that, not me, although I agree. The reality is that right now, the Rams are dangerous, and this is why I had them, going 13-4 or 13-4. That's what it was, 13-4 before the season started, because I looked at this team and I said, look, I think a lot of people are so focused on Aaron Donald being gone, but I think this team is better than last year. Truthfully, that's how I felt. And I think we're seeing this young pass rush up front is incredible. We didn't expect this. I mean, I didn't expect it. I thought Jared Verse would be a really good player. I didn't think Jared Verse would be one of the best pass rushers, in week 8 or week 9 of the season or whatever already. He's just done such a great job. Braden Fisk has been huge. Those guys up front, Kobe Turner leading the way. The secondary, as I've said multiple times in the show, they have revamped, and it has just had wonders for them. It's just done so many different things. And, I look at the Vikings game, and a lot of people, and I never do watch parties. I know some of you do. I never do watch parties. And a lot of people, first off, they had never won when I've done a watch party, and they've never won when I was sick. And both of those things occurred. But people were telling me when they went down 14-7, oh, this thing's over. They're not going to be able to continue to compete. And I said, no, those are scripted drives. Okay, let's see what happens when Chris Shula has to make adjustments. And I thought Shula did a great job as a rookie defensive coordinator. Everyone was talking about, Brian Flores' defense and so forth. But I also want to say this. We have people in this, this roundtable that don't make it easy for me to just say delusional Jake and, call out the people, because there were a lot of comments saying that I was delusional, saying they were going to win under that video. But Jesse and Brandon both had them winning. So they saw what I saw. And I can't throw shade at Mike because he's on top of the world right now. They're number 1 in the division, so he doesn't give a rip. So honestly, I think it's really great for our show. Having all these teams kind of neck and neck, I think it's going to be the most fun. And I don't care. We are going to do numbers on this roundtable. We're coming for the AFC East right now. We are coming for the AFC East. We're going to be the top dog. I love every single one of you, including you, Z-Bot. And let's get ready to roll, because I'm excited. The Rams, the Seahawks this weekend as well. There's a lot of fun stuff. But I think this division right now, people could say it's trash. Well, we got 4 teams that are all neck and neck. That's as good as it can be for a divisional roundtable. I can tell you that much.
Totally agree. I think it's the opposite of trash. This is getting very exciting at the midway point of the year. Real quick, Jake, talk to me, because I'm watching this game, and I think the big point going into it was finally the Rams have Puka and cutback, and that's going to be the big factor in this one, which it was. But the Vikings come out on fire offensively, 14 points in the first quarter. They don't score another touchdown the rest of the way. How do you speak to this defense, what they were able to do against an offense that was seemingly scoring on anybody and came out of the gates doing so in this game Thursday night?
Yeah, well, one thing I noticed when they got into the red zone, they started bracketing Jefferson. When they did that, that's when you started to, okay, where are they going to go? And to be fair, those first 2 touchdowns were not to Jefferson, right? But I thought they did a really nice job of making those adjustments. They really relied on the rookie, UDFA, who was at Oregon State for most of his career, transferred to LSU, was a preseason darling, Omar Speights. And he came up big. He started off really slow at the beginning. You could see this is his first time ever playing defense, and they threw him in on Thursday Night Football of all time. But what he was able to do as the game progressed, I was really impressed with. And, furthermore, I'll just say this. It's not just about, guys like that, Omar Speights and what have you. They've always had these UDFAs and whatnot. The real thing about the Rams here is that they had to score. The defense has actually not been as bad as people want to say. Okay, I understand. Yeah, they gave up this and they gave up this on the ground. But in reality, when I watched this team, I felt like the offense has kind of gotten this free pass, and the defense has just been like, oh, they have a rookie defensive coordinator and the secondary is trash and all of that. Well, when you look at it against the Packers, like I brought up on this show, and against the Bears, they had given these guys an opportunity to go down the field and win the game. They got that final stop at the end of the game. And unfortunately, the defense getting that final stop, the offense doesn't do anything. And now the defense gets all this crap. Well, in this game, the offense finally stepped up. So it was all 3 phases working in unison. And that is what's going to help you win football games. Matthew Stafford was incredible. The interception sucked. I mean, it was just not very good. Miscommunication, whatever it was. Byron Murphy was getting owned all game. So, he needed that. But, I just think Puka Nacua should be the guy that's talked about here, because Puka Nacua, when I reported that he was going to play, I was told he was going to suit up And we don't know what he's going to have, like his role. It's all going to be dependent on how he does things, throughout the process, right? How he does things before the game. If he looks good in the pregame, then that's how it's going to happen. But the reality of the situation is that Puka Nacua, regardless of what anyone said, came out there and dropped a 100-yard game. And in his first 19 games, he has as many 100-yard games as Justin Jefferson had in his first 20. So right now we're finding out Puka Nacua is a superstar. We have two young offensive linemen in, Diedick at left guard, UDFA, and Bo Limmer, Jesse's favorite guy, at center. These guys were incredible, absolutely incredible. To ask them to do what they had to do, I mean, this is why, guys. It takes, all 11. It takes all 22. It takes all 53. And if I'm going to bank on anybody, I'm going to bank on the coaching. I think the Rams have some of the best coaching that you could ask for in this league, and it's why I never counted this team out. It's why I think they're about to go on a run.
Huge W for the Rams. Unfortunately, it's not looking great for your New York Yankees as Stockton Slap comes in and says, Jake, take that jersey off.
Volpe just hit a grand slam.
You're kidding. No way. They have play too?
Yeah, it just showed up in the corner of my screen. I just got a text, Volpe grand slam.
No way. All right, Stockton, keep it coming. Keep jinxing it for Jake's Yankees. That's crazy. Maybe they have something in the tank tonight.
Love you, Rams fans.
massive win for your Rams, Jake. And boy, oh boy, does that Rams-Seahawks game this upcoming weekend automatically become one of the games of the weekend because of it. Looking forward to that. We'll preview that, of course, in our upcoming Week 9 preview episode later in the week. Let's go from Thursday Night Football to Sunday afternoon football, where these Arizona Cardinals, not only do they squish the fish, but they do so in locking up the top spot in the NFC West for now. How about these Arizona Cardinals? Halfway through the year, they sit atop the NFC West right now, a 28-27 W over the Dolphins with Tua back. So no excuse for Miami in this one. Their offense was averaging 11 points per game without Tua, and they certainly look to be back on pace to what they used to be prior to losing Tua. But it still wasn't enough, Mike. Your Cardinals find a way to get it done. These Dolphins had a late game lead. They could not hang on to it. Kyler Murray and the Cardinals find a way at the end and seal it with a game-winning field goal. First of all, take me through the emotions of the game. You're down late in this one, 2 scores, not looking great until all of a sudden it is. Then you get it done. So how you feeling about the game, and how you feeling about now your Cardinals being atop of the division?
It's a wild ride that we're in right now, right, boys? I mean, it's NFC West, like literally one game different between anything can change. You're on the top, you're on the bottom. It's a crazy place to be, but obviously, how you guys obviously cover your team is actually really cool to see the emotions of this this division being changed from left to right. It's really, really cool to see. And then just real quick, once I found out that Puka was going to play, I didn't want to change my vote. Obviously, I already went ahead and said that the Rams were going to lose. Just wanted to go and put that out.
Can I say something as well? Once I found out that Zach Seiler got his eye poked out, I switched it to the Cardinals. I was like, I ain't dealing with that voodoo.
You did. All right, well, let me talk about this game. A lot of emotions. I ended up doing a watch party. Now, I actually had back-to-back watch parties, and I actually have my own custom jersey that I have that my wife gave me a couple years back, my year and my last name in the back. I'm going to be writing that till this thing is crusty. If it works, it works. I've been doing watch parties on my YouTube channel, and we've been winning back-to-back. I'm not saying that's going to be the key, but yes, emotions, roller coaster is the best way to describe exactly what we saw in this game. The Cardinals never led in this game at all, except for when Chad Ryland hit that game-winning field goal. A lot of things that we ended up seeing in this game. Now, so let's take it from the start here. A couple things that, started off with the frustration level. Kyler Murray, although ended off the game very, very good, we're struggling with Kyler Murray and the balls being batted down. I don't know if it's one of those things where he kind of forgets. Happens like the first 1 or 2 drives. Good thing is that he adjusted to obviously maybe throwing it a little higher, rolling out, doing different things. But one thing I want to highlight is Marvin Harrison Jr. having another great game. Now, this offense is run through James Conner and how great this run game could potentially be. I think we all know that. But one thing that I think defense has figured out is that if you stack the box and then you say, you need to beat us, Kyler Murray, with your arms. Sometimes the Arizona Cardinals, or at least the first 7 weeks, we kind of were a little gun shy. We didn't really know 100% what to do, but we saw a shift in what can happen and what this offense can potentially look like, because James Conner didn't have a great game on the ground. I think he finished off with like 53 yards with 20 carries and a touchdown. Nothing to sneeze at. Pretty good. But Kyler Murray, man, Kyler Murray had himself a game. This is the first 300 passing yard game that we've seen from Kyler Murray since October of 2022. And yes, I know that because it's been a big focal point in terms of a lot of Cardinal fans that do not want Kyler Murray to come back. I think this has silenced a lot of people, because if we can see this Kyler Murray week in and week out, man, I think sky's the limit for this offense. But let's continue. Marvin Harrison Jr., 6 receptions, 111 yards, touchdown. Trey McBride, 9 receptions, 124 yards. We also have not had 2 weapons for Kyler Murray go over 100 yards this whole year. So step in the right direction. We're starting to get these wide receivers involved. And one thing to note, Kyler Murray did bring in Marvin Harrison Jr. into the wide receiving room. He said, what do you want? What is something that you like to do? And I love that between Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr., because that just showed here on Sunday. But Tua was ripping us apart. I'm not going to lie to you. There was a lot of things that were frustrating as a Cardinal fan, but like, we know this, right? Everybody here in this roundtable knows that the biggest deficiency on our team is our pass rush. Now, are we going to address that in a week or so? We don't know, but it's continuing to be a focal point for this defense and not being able to pressure him. He was back there. He was basically dicing us up. But I want to give a shout out to this defense, because they show up 1 or 2 times. And that's kind of all we need if our offense is, at this level, what we've seen in Miami. So want to give a shout out to them. They did a fantastic job, especially when it mattered. But yeah, we never led this game at all until the last 30 seconds or 1 minute when Chad Ryland hit that kick. So overall, man, a lot of emotions in this game. Tua did play a fairly good game. The last drive or 2 from this offense, I'm talking about the Miami Dolphins, was a little questionable. It almost kind of seemed they were like content with not scoring, or I don't know really what the game plan was, but it only benefited the Cardinals because we literally took that up the field, and it was game over once Chad Ryland is going to make that game-winning kick. So saw a lot of good things. Love Marvin Harrison Jr. coming back and finally making a name for himself. Trey McBride had a breakout game. Defensively, like I said, there's things that could be fixed here and there, but we know what our defense is at the end of the day. So we're just excited. Two-game winning streak. Hopefully we're going to go ahead and ride out here into week 9 versus Caleb. And then after that, we got the dysfunctional Jets. So I think these are looking good.
You already know how that one's going, Mike. I already told you how that one's going. That's a guarantee right there. Lock it in. Drama's coming in. He's saying Cardinals run the West with less than half the talent the other teams have. Drama's fired up. So is Ivan. He's saying, speak on it, Mike. Rise up, Red Sea. Crazy game from Kyler, from Trey McBride, from Marvin Harrison Jr. Yes, Tua back with his health. You're going to have games from Tyreek, from Achane. They're going to get back to where they were, but your ability to overcome it in Arizona offensively, that was the key in this game. The Cardinals get it done. All right. Unfortunately, as we move to the 4 p.m. window, I got to throw my shit.
I was wondering.
Unfortunately, for my main man, Brandon. Now, in his defense, in all of Seahawks Nation, in their defense, Brandon will speak to it. I predicted the Bills to lose this game. What we saw on Sunday afternoon was a far cry from what I expected to see in this game from the Seattle Seahawks. In Seattle, the Bills come to town and roll Geno Smith and company 31-10. They hold the Seahawks at half, which was the craziest stat of the game to me. They hold the Seahawks at half with Kenneth Walker to 1 rush yard on the day. It didn't get much better in the second half either. The Bills' rush D has not been great this year. I thought that would be a liability in this game, along with Geno's quick passing game. And it just felt like they couldn't get things going. And when they did, they found ways to shoot themselves in the foot, whether it was the center early on, or it was just miscues, whether it was the penalties. 24 total in this game, if you didn't notice. If you watched it, it was unbearably brutal when it came to the penalties on both sides. Collectively, though, a ton of mistakes, including on the Seahawks side, wound up resulting in a 31-10 loss, and I just didn't see this coming. Not sure anybody else did. Brandon, I don't think you did either. You're watching this one. It was messy. And I mean, it was just a tough watch. If you're not a fan of it, I don't know how you could have tuned in with all the penalties. Your biggest takeaway from this one, because we're now watching these Seahawks on any given week, they can be the best team in football. And then all of a sudden on any other week, it looks like they don't have the capabilities of competing at the top. So your biggest takeaway from this one and what you saw from your Seahawks against the Bills.
Well, I think your Bills played a great game, and they definitely earned the win by far on this and routing us. But this is the fourth embarrassing loss in 5 games for the Seattle Seahawks. And right now, in my opinion, where there could be some room for optimism in 4-4, I'm really kind of starting to struggle to sort of find some in the grand scheme of things here, because this team is not trending in the right direction. You would think with the new head coach here, with new coaches, that this would start to get better, not worse. And the problem here that I come to is some of the bigger picture stuff that starts to get me into mode, quite frankly, of if we lose this upcoming game against the Rams, I would be very much in sell mode at the trade deadline at this point. I think that this is a team that's 29-30 over its last 3 years. You've lost your 3 straight games at home now. Your Buffalo Bill team took over the stadium, but guess what? The Niners took over the stadium. We've lost our home field advantage. We're 15-15 in our last 30 home games. There's a bigger problem at play here. There's a canary in the coal mine here. And, Jesse was talking last week just about the mere auspice, the mere specter of the possibility of ending up in between and saying, well, that's one of the worst places you can be at organizationally. Well, guess what? He's right. It is. You want to avoid it at all turns. And sometimes that means you're going to have to make some painful decisions in order to avoid it. And right now, as much as being a trade deadline seller having to do with the record where the team is at, there needs to be a message sent down through this locker room right now. Because there's a lack of toughness that's being shown on that football field. You're getting your butt whooped on both sides of the line of scrimmage every single week. Every single week. Sometimes we win, sometimes we lose, but every single week you're losing that war. And when it comes to stopping the run, I've been told by coaches and people that are in the NFL and players, and they say it's about effort. It's about want. It's about, can you do it? Do you have that will to do it? And I see no will in this team. I see no identity in this team. I see no spirit in this team. There are good parts to it. But it's this overhanging thing beyond a player, an individual, or a positional group. It's this overhanging malaise that sits there. It's carried over from the prior regime, quite frankly. But it tells me that there needs to be a major shakeup here. When Carroll and Schneider came in, I think they spun through 1,400 players with a heavy churn through their first 2 years. Part of that's sending a message, which if you're not going to sit to the standard, if you're not going to stick your nose in there, if you're going to make business decisions, then you can get your happy ass out of here. And I'm at that point. We're getting embarrassed on a weekly basis. Jake's team's going to come into our house and spank us. They're going to run the ball down our throat, and we're going to sit there and flail it away helplessly because we can't do nothing about it. And then you have McDonald today on the radio here talking about how we can't even get to all the stuff I want to all run because I can't even get him to do the basic stuff on both offense and defense. We're halfway into the season. What are we talking about here? So I don't want to undershoot your guys' win. It's a great win. But to me, this is Houston, we got a problem.
I think I'm noticing, and I can sense the frustration. In fact, I don't think I've seen you this frustrated since we've started the roundtable. If you watch that game, though, I completely understand your frustration, Brandon. I've never seen players infighting the way that they did in this game, not only on the field, but taking it to the sideline. Gino, the frustration, the crying on the side of the field, the throwing the ball at the defender, walking off the sideline. And like you mentioned, which I was stunned to find this out. And I when Amari Cooper, I know he only had 1 catch, but I heard the Cooper.
You broke up.
You come to find out that after the game, there were a ton of Bills fans at the stadium. Right now, I know you're probably not able to pinpoint it in on one thing, but what is the overall sentiment as to why this is looking the way that it is? Because it feels like in the majority of the categories in which you would need to have a sound football team, Seattle's got the right guys. They have decent personnel. They seem to have the right coach. It just felt like on Sunday, nothing could go right, and it felt like everything was unraveling when it didn't have to. They could have been in that game easily from beginning to end, especially in the beginning.
Big thing that people look for when they're trying to draft players, general managers, is how much of your buy-in, how much you're all about ball, how much do you really care, or is this just a job for you? I see guys right now that are treating it like it's just a job. And it's one thing to get beat in the line of scrimmage on a given week here or there, or we got some struggles there. But, we put as much investment in the defensive line you can find in the league right now at this point. And we are just getting dog walked every single week in the running game at will. I mean, your Bills, could you not do whatever you wanted in this game? Hey, we'll run a little over here. We'll run over there. Let's throw a little short. Let's throw a little long. Whatever you wanted to do, you could do. And it's like that on a weekly basis right now with this defense. Even the Falcon game last week, we didn't stop their run. It's just that we got ahead of them on a last touchdown at halftime, got up by 10 points, and took the running game out of their back pocket as you went along. And so when I see that line of scrimmage war being lost constantly, and when you see, like, why is your Bills fans taking over, or Jesse's Niners fans taking over, or God, maybe even the Rams fans who themselves lose their own stadium to 49er fans, but might take ours over this next week, has to do with, I think, a little bit of a fan sort of feeling like, hey, this team's stuck in between right now. You're not making forward progress. We're looking for incremental steps here. I'm not looking for us to be out here winning the division. So please don't take this as, well, we don't win the division, so I'm in my feelings. It's that I'm looking for some actual stuff that shows me that we're making progress and moving forward. Because the last couple of years, like I said, as I pointed out to our record, we've been stuck. It's not that we've been bad. We've just been stuck in this middle ground stage. One win in the playoffs since 2017. The Jacksonville Jaguars have more wins in the playoffs than the Seahawks since 2017. It's kind of getting, I think, to the fans where now they got a ticket. You got season tickets. You go, do I want to go in and watch bad football, or do I want to get $200 profit and go to a bar or something and do something else? And I think that they're making the other choice, unfortunately.
Jason coming in. He's saying, bang, bang. We almost choked it again, but B Mafia punked Seattle. And 808 Niners saying, Squawks fans, we're claiming victory over the division and digging our graves. We ain't winning a Super Bowl this year, but we will end your season in 3 weeks. To your point, Brandon, what was interesting about that game, the Bills, for the first time since Josh Allen's rookie year, had a 100-yard rusher and a 100-yard passer. And I just was not expecting that defense to open things up for the Bills the way that they did. But it just seemed that like that was the case. So I understand your frustration completely. It just felt like at times Seattle was unraveling throughout the game and weren't able to pick themselves up. But they're still right in the thick of things. We've seen them play tremendously well at times throughout this year. And I feel like a win this upcoming weekend, if they're able to get past the Rams, would go a long way. And, of course, towards this division more than anything, but also towards the playoff hopes as well. So Seahawks go down. The lone loser this past weekend, still right in the thick of things, as everybody is in this division, including Jesse's 49ers with the easiest, most guaranteed W of the weekend. Everybody knew if a decent team takes on the Dallas Cowboys, you might as well put your rent on it. That was the case again on Sunday night. The score might not reflect how dominant the Niners were in this game. The Cowboys, who seemingly every time they play in a game like this, find a way to make it close at the end. But the Niners inevitably get it done. 30-24, the final in San Francisco, a huge win for the Niners. This game, it felt like the sentiment surrounding it was whoever wins this game is going to put themselves in a position to be able to make a run towards the playoffs in the end of the year here. Whoever loses this game is going to be in a real tough spot. We kind of know the turmoil surrounding both of these organizations heading into this one. And the Cowboys were coming off of a bye, and they had the ability to be more prepped up than the Niners were in this one. It just did not seem to matter. So, Jesse, talk to me. I know that there was a lot of frustration on your end on behalf of these Niners this past week. They come out in this game. They're able to take care of business. Your biggest takeaway from what you saw from your Niners on Sunday night?
I'm always happy with a win, but this doesn't take away the sting of what I felt the week prior. And, a lot of 49er fans are upset with that. It's like, geez, just be happy with a win. It's like, no, nobody respects Dallas. Nobody takes them seriously. The 49ers always beat the Dallas Cowboys. The fact that things that have been there all season long crept up again, 49ers giving Dallas a chance to win the game at the end the way that they have done 4 other times this year, it's frustrating to watch. This is a Dallas team that the 49ers should have beaten the brakes off of. Yes, the 49ers had their injuries, but Dallas had plenty of injuries too. Dak Prescott did Dak Prescott things, and it still took everything for them to win that game. And that was a little bit disappointing, but I will say this. There are some people that deserve a shout out on the San Francisco 49ers. Number one, George Kittle getting his 500th catch on National Tight End Day. Very, very big accomplishment. He is showing that he's still one of the, if not currently the best tight end in the game. So shout out goes to him.
Career
what
year
was that?
Is it a career year for him right now?
It's close. It's on par. It's on par. Yeah, it's definitely on par, which is crazy. You look at the way he plays football is a lot like Rob Gronkowski. And we saw the way that Rob broke down late in his career, really kind of early, actually. And Kittle plays the same brand. It's actually wild that he's able to keep this up. So very happy for him. But this rookie draft class came through in a big, big way in this game. They injected major life. You've got Bernardo Green starting at defensive back, Nobody expected him, at least not in the 49ers organization. They brought in 2 veterans to take that job. Neither of them could keep it. He's made his way onto the field. You got Malik Mustafa filling in admirably for Talanoa Hufanga. Then you've got Dominic Pooney, who was thrust into the starting role and hasn't looked back. He's been amazing all year long. And when the 49ers needed it most, they needed a couple other rookies to step up in this game. They just lost Brandon Ayuk for the season. Ricky Pearsall comes in, plays very well. And then in the middle of this game, the worst thing that could have happened to a team that wants to run the ball, who's already without CMC, already without Elijah Mitchell, loses Jordan Mason, and Isaac Guerrero steps up in a huge way, taking the torch, running the ball like crazy. And that was the ultimate difference. The Dallas Cowboys came out with an interesting look. They wanted to play 6 down linemen. It got the 49ers a little bit rattled in the first half. In the second half, the adjustments were made where basically anytime that they saw the 6-man front, they would can do a pass. They would torch them. Eventually, that took them out of the 6-man front, and the 49ers were able to run the ball. It was a brilliant second half execution and game plan offensively. But I fear that a lot of the things that existed before are not wiped away just because you beat the Dallas Cowboys. They reared their ugly head yet again throughout the course of this game. We'll see what they're able to do after the bye week. Hopefully CMC and Dre Greenlaw can return. If not, right after the bye week, soon after, and maybe that will make the difference. But San Francisco 49ers got a win. I'm very happy for that, but they still do not have a quality win, in my opinion. They haven't won back-to-back. That is concerning because the second half of this schedule is very, very tough for the San Francisco 49ers.
Definitely tough. I was just looking at it. There are certainly some big games coming up in a couple of weeks. You have the Seahawks, you have the Packers, the Bills, tons of tough games on this one, but you just mentioned your Niners haven't gone back-to-back yet. I think there might be set up to be able to do that against the Tampa Bay Bucs this upcoming weekend. Yeah. They're missing half their offense, it seems, and even though they can still put up points, you got to think that San Francisco, the better team in that one, should have a favorable chance to get their first back-to-back W's this season. Currently tied with the Hawks and the Cardinals for top of the division, and they are currently favored to still win the division. So we'll see what's in store for the Niners moving forward. Stockton coming in. He's saying, you don't read all the super chats. He's done. Stockton saying, no more from me. Stockton, you know the drill. We got to get around the table. Then it's time to have our fun. We're going to dive into the super chats right now. So I apologize, but be patient. I promise you, we always get to all super chats, and we couldn't be more appreciative of everybody who takes the time to send us along these super chats, including Dave, who says, you have lost a few of my supers in the weeks too. Dave, I think I might have to apologize on your behalf specifically because I don't think anybody has sent peppers off super chats quite like Dave, fellas. And all the shows that I do, Dave fires off super chats like an Uzi gun. So, Dave, if there's any of them I missed, I apologize. But just so you know, when we get off, we talk about it all the time, how hilarious the show is. And Dave, I think you're a prominent point for that, or you're a prominent part of that. And the reason for that is because you gave us the term Lyle. And you said earlier today, Lyle almost took those glasses from you, Jesse, as Jesse was alluding to. It felt like this game could have been way more dominant for his 49ers. The Cowboys allowed to trickle back in. The odd thing I thought in that one, Jesse, was in the second half, it felt like the mindset was, let's just not cover CeeDee Lamb, the only player worth a damn on the Cowboys offense. What was that like watching that go down? It felt like it was the only guy the Niners defense had to hone in on.
Yeah, I mean, luckily we knew Dak was on the other side, so there was no chance that they were going to have if the ball was put into his hands with an opportunity to win. So that came to fruition. But yeah, they definitely made it a lot closer. You know, they really did have a chance to go win that game. When you were up 17 with like 7 minutes left, and then all of a sudden Dallas has the ball with plenty of time, and if they score a touchdown, they win the game and basically walk off. It's a little unnerving, but then you remember Dak's there, and you're like, all right, we're good.
Right.
I love Zimmer's approach too, to the point Collinsworth was noting in the broadcast, where every time you guys went into shotgun, Jesse, on like a 3rd and 5 and 6, they would send a blitz. It was like that was the only thing Zimmer saw from the Kansas City approach, and he's like, oh, rather than take all the nuances, like, I'll just take that one thing and mass apply it across the board. And to the point Collinsworth was referencing it early in the, and they kept running it. It's like, well, if he's seeing it, then probably the Niners are seeing it. And then you hear in the after, like Diggs talking about how Shanahan outcoached, McCarthy in that game, and that they were a step ahead on their play calling and all that. I thought that was pretty notable from that one too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jesse, real quick. I'm sorry, I might have missed this. Is
Go for it, Mike.
CMC coming back at all? I know week 10 is what they're saying, but it's not certain, right?
So he's going to test it during this week, and if it goes well, he'll be practicing because they're on a bye week. He'll be practicing the week after and set to play. So it all comes down to this week, these private workouts and how things go for him.
Cool.
Dave's saying Lyle always going to Lyle, blows 10-point leads. We do know that Lyle is indeed, he's no stranger to blowing leads, but it just feels like if you're going to blow a lead, let it be against the Dallas Cowboys, who won't be able to find a way to complete the comeback, so to speak. Back to Constitution, $5. And he's just saying, hey, fellas, I appreciate the show. Here's a super chat. He didn't even type in the word Lyle. Typically, all you have to do is just a super chat.
No Elmo, nothing.
No reference to a soap opera, Jake. There's nothing in there other than just a nice $5 for the fellas. So appreciate you. Back to Constitution.
That's my guy. He's a Cardinal fan. That's my guy.
So he's just feeling himself today, Mike. He's like, hey, fellas, I got to donate on behalf of my top of the division Cardinals. Dave's saying, by the way, Jesse, he thinks you're being a little humble after this one. He thinks you might not be thoroughly enjoying what the Niners did on Sunday night. You just weren't satisfied with what you saw, though.
Well, we just did another show right before this, and he was a judge on the show that I won, so that's why he's saying I'm being a little humble. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. We had a blast.
Cast is coming in. Hawks fans are delusional, thinking McDonald would have their defense playing like his Ravens squad that had Roquan Smith, Queen, Humphrey, and D-line. Was that the expectation, Brandon?
I love Straw Man. I so love Straw Man. It's so great, isn't it? It's like I'm just gonna start forcing people to steal man. Whenever I'm having debates, I'm gonna make them say exactly what I'm saying. Because I mean, some Hawk fans he's probably right. Some Hawk fans were thinking that. Sorry to cut you off, C-Bot, but it's not the expectation that they need to be a triple crown winning defense and the best in the NFL, but maybe not league worst in almost every category. Maybe take something away from the offense on a weekly basis. Just pick something, run game, pass, find something, blitz a lot, do something. But we let offenses every week get after us in every way, shape, and form. You just saw this, Ebot. Call me a liar right out of my face if I'm lying on what you just saw from that team. Jesse, call me a liar. You saw it directly to your face right now. Was your offense held back in any way? Was it pressed? It's not that we're looking for them to get dominant. Just don't be a S show on that side of it in every way, shape, and form. You don't rush the passer. We did early on in the season. There's 3 games rush the passer well. After that, that's gone out the door. So you don't rush the passer. You don't stop the run. You don't stop the pass. You don't cause turnovers. You allow long draining drives that take up 8, 9 minutes and 14 plays. So it's more of like, is there something we can be brought to the table that we can improve upon here? I'm not asking to be greedy. Just get me like off the back end of things here. And when it comes to talent, let's also consider we made a Russell Wilson trade 3 years ago where you got one of the more mighty hauls in NFL history back for Russell Wilson in return for that. When are these players supposed to kick in? Jackson Smith-Njigba does not look like a difference maker. Devin Witherspoon is not out there doing a whole lot to facilitate being the number 5 overall pick. You could say Gonzalez out there with New England's outperforming him, who was taken, I think, 12 picks later. So I'm not asking for the best. That's a long-term hope and goal, but improvement, a step forward, that's the hope.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it, McDonald obviously is a good coach because he's missed in Baltimore. You can see what's happened to that defense year to year, but it's not working right now. And it's year one. It's not like I don't think that you can fire him after 1 year. I think that would be asinine. But at the same time, it's not like they're void of talent on defense. I've been talking about it for 2 years. I think Seattle is the biggest underachieving team in the whole NFL. When you go player for player, talent piece for talent piece, they can compete, but coaching is holding them back. And I figured, all right, well, listen, now you're getting the young mind and McDonald, Jake, Mike, we all talked about it. Like, man, this is going to be crazy. Like watching the masterminds of the 2 young defensive minds with the younger, well, not as young, but young-ish offensive minds. And they're going to be going at it for the next few years. And this is going to be great. And it's like, it's just, what's going on here? I mean, nothing. You can't do anything good. You know how much talent is on that defensive side of the ball? It's absolutely insane. Most teams would dream of that. You think Gannon and Arizona fans wouldn't love the talent that Seattle has on defense? Give me a break, man. They would die to have that talent.
It's a great point you make, Jesse, about the Ravens missing him. That's the reason why the Ravens have 3 losses right now. Their offense has been putting up points at will. This defense has not looked up to snuff, and you saw that again this past week. They let Jameis Winston. These Browns they were the only American football team, fellas, in Division I football or the NFL to have not scored 20 points heading into this past weekend. And Jameis Winston somehow put up 29 against those Ravens. So maybe it's a matter of time for Seattle. Maybe the expectations were far too high. But maybe it's a matter of time before this defense starts clicking. I see the kitty, Brandon, and Ruiz is saying
feeling my energy right now.
He wants you to make homemade cats to get coping. I don't know if Ruiz clearly isn't your homemade cat calendar, is whatever that is.
Oh, I may be onto that at some point. Yeah.
Maybe a loss to the Rams and you start making homemade cat calendars. I'll in Brandon's defense, I will say, as a proud owner of 2 cats, I'll take a cat calendar any day of the week. So Brandon, if you start whipping them up, send one my way.
Amen.
Stockton, he's throwing a little shade out here, Jake. He's saying, what's more sad, the Yanks or Jake's neck beard? What's
does Josh Allen have a neck beard? Like, there are a lot of cool people out there that have neck beards.
Andrew Luck had a neck beard.
He did.
Yeah.
It's a power beard.
People don't realize, in order to get a beard, you got to let the neck beard go for a little while. It's not going to look, you're not going to be able to have everything come together at once. You got to be on the struggle bus a little bit.
Z-Bot, you got the neck beard?
I got the everything beard right now.
Okay.
I have the caveman beard right now that hasn't clearly been to a barber in the last 3 weeks. So that's what I have going on right now. At least yours is a little bit more cleaned up than mine does. Dave's coming. He's saying, ever seen Old School? Kyle is like Will Ferrell when he shoots himself in the neck with a tranq dart. He still wants to participate in the party. He's calling plays, take play calling away in the 4th. Now that's
crazy, man.
Oh,
crazy, man, but you're crazy.
That's what I can resonate with. Although, what do you think about this has always been the argument against Kyle Shanahan, I guess, Jesse. What's the difference between him in the beginning and then him in the later stages of the game? Why is there such a stark contrast, it seems, between those 2 phases of the game? Because you could argue he's one of the best in the beginning. He's always had his struggles down the stretch.
Well, I mean, you get him with a week or 2 to prepare, and he comes up with a script, and he's phenomenal. But Kyle just, for some reason, doesn't seem to be able to have a feel of the game. And I can go in so many different directions with this, and I know that this is going to sound off kilter when I say it, but I'll bring it back together. Kyle is so buried in his play sheet throughout the game, not feeling what's going on, not talking to players very often as they come off the field. He's the same guy that when one of his players gets injured, I've never seen him walk on the field and be like, yo, are you good? He's just so enthralled with his play sheet and what he's going to do next. It's like, man, just loosen up and have a feel of a game. It's not all X's and O's. Sometimes you got to know what your team's feeling. You got to feel the energy, good or bad, and you got to call plays accordingly. It's not just about the play design and calling them at the perfect time. It's knowing when the feeling is right to call a play. And there is part of that goes into it. You've got to feel the game, and I feel like he doesn't feel the game. So
Kyle Shanahan, speaking of which, Feeding More Seahawks has to weigh in on Kyle's late game struggles or struggles in general, I guess. First off, Kyle Shanahan is a bum who belongs in a Hello Kitty commercial selling ice cream to kids with disabilities. Love your show, Z-Bot. He's pissed at Chase Bank, as am I. Don't get me started. But Feed Me More Seahawks with a very creative idea for a new Kyle Shanahan commercial. I'll tell you this. If Kyle Shanahan does end up hanging it up at some point, fellas, the boys and girls in the live chat of the NFC West Roundtable have several employment opportunities for Kyle Shanahan should that point in time come. Jared Verse is about to give us the next Geno, oh my God, 2.0. Rams are getting healthy at the right time, says Roger Morales. What are your thoughts on that, Jake? Are you thinking the way things are looking right now for Seattle could bode in your favor this upcoming week for your Rams?
I didn't think that they were going to beat the Rams before all of this, even after the Falcons game. So now I really don't think they're going to win. I think when you look at the numbers, I mean, the Rams have won the last 5 times. They're like 8-1, 10-3 under Sean McVay. The Rams have had the Seahawks number for the most part. 2 of those losses, I do believe, when John Wolford and Baker Mayfield started. So really, there's only been 1 loss, I believe, when it was either Goff or Stafford. I think it was Goff. It was the first time they played against each other, McVay and Goff versus the Seattle Seahawks. So yeah, I have no reason to assume that, especially coming off that win, the mini bye, just having a bye, getting healthier. I mean, Puka Nacua looked more ready to go than Cooper Kupp, right? I mean, Cooper Kupp looked limited. So now you have 10 days, Cooper Kupp has a time to recharge. And they didn't have Jordan Whittington that game, like I was saying that they would. So that was a little bit of a surprise, getting Noteboom back. I think the Rams right now are just in the perfect spot. If they can beat the Seattle Seahawks, which is something that they've done consistently, then they beat Seattle. To be fair to Brandon, they haven't won on the road this year, so they have to prove that. But if they can go beat Seattle like they've done, then they got the Dolphins, who I understand. Cardinals had a great win. I don't want to take anything away from the Dolphins or the Cardinals, because you played them at their toughest, not with Tim Boyle at quarterback. You played them with Tua back. So I don't want to say the Dolphins is an easy game, but it's an easier game than playing, say, the Lions, the Vikings, the Packers, pretty much the whole NFC North. And then they have the Patriots. And I know the Patriots, for whatever reason, are the first ever 2-6 team trying to buy at the deadline. God knows why. But I'm not worried. They just traded away Josh Uche. Again, I don't know why we continue to keep making the Chiefs better, but, all these teams. So, yeah, I feel really good about the Rams right now. Really good about the Rams.
Hey, real quick, Brandon, a quick question. I kind of heard you say maybe potentially, being sellers. I just looked at your schedule. You got back-to-back division games. You got, obviously, the Rams, you got the 49ers, and then you got the Cardinals coming your way. Realistically, I mean, obviously the future is, selling, what you said, if they lose this game, but like what happens with the quarterback? Because obviously that's been a big topic within this roundtable about Geno Smith. Do you think you make that shift over to Sam Howell to see what he has, or to you just ride out Geno to see what he does for the rest of the season?
Sam Howell is not a better quarterback than Geno Smith right now. I understand he's younger. It's not to say Sam Howell cannot eventually play in this sport. I went to training camp and watched him in person. They're on a practice field. There's a difference between these two guys. Just take my word for it on this. And it's a big, wide range of difference. I know that the discussion points have been about Geno so much, and I don't think that there's going to be much common ground found between maybe me and the roundtable in regards to Geno Smith and his ability at this point. We've kind of had our tete-a-tete on that. I think the discussion shifts. If you're looking at Geno Smith this offseason, you're looking at signing him to a contract extension because you truly believe that you can compete for 2025. If you don't believe that you can compete for 2025, then it becomes irrelevant how really good or bad he is, because he's in his mid-30s and you're not going to pay a quarterback like that unless you're ready to go. And unfortunately, right now, with the way this team is trending and moving, and I'm hearing my coach say, I can't even run my full playbook on both sides of the ball midway into the year, I think we're more in a mode where I've got to say, hey, there's times of the year where you can strike and get a better deal. Like sometimes we think the off seasons where you can maximize outdraft trade capital, and that often is the case. But sometimes you can come in and snooker teams that are thinking, hey, I'm desperate to go be that competing team right now. And if this team ain't ready to go, I think you can serve 2 notices on doing that. If we lose, if we win, I'm still ready. But you serve 2 notices. Number 1, you can build up trade capital for a team that's not really ready to compete in the short term. Number 2, you shake up the locker room and send a message, which is that if this is the effort that we're going to see on this, and look, I'm not a guy that likes to call out effort at all, but it has been too far on display in the past couple of years from this organization. And it needs this kind of shakeup in place, or just something different. They haven't done that. They keep coming back around to thinking last month and a half, we've made 3 trades in the last month and a half, just kind of thinking we're this close, we're this close, we're this close. You got to start snapping yourself out of that and really look at this with a sober eye and go, no, this is what it is.
Stockton saying Jake is he's better as a Rams fan because he's happy his Yanks are salvaging a game, avoiding a sweep. LA scrubs stick to Rams, Jakey Poo. I think we found a Dodgers fan in the chat, Jake.
I live in New York, and everyone gets on me around here for not having a New York team other than the Yankees. So there's my New York team. A lot of these LA fans, loyal to the soil. Well, you want me to be loyal to the soil? I have a team in New York. It's the only team. That's why.
In your defense, look at how the New York teams have done probably throughout our entire lifetime here. It's probably not the worst thing in the world that you don't have a New York team, even though you're in New York here. Dave's coming in. He's saying Kyle is Scarface. He would play all positions if he could. He doesn't need anyone. That's the bad part. He's not good and wants everyone to know it's him. Why do you think he doesn't play good players? Now, what do you think's the more accurate comparison here, Jake? The Scarface that we saw from Dave, or earlier, what was the other one that we had from Dave that he thought that
Old school.
old school? What's more accurate here?
Old school. I mean, this is so silly. I love it. I like the old school one. Scarface is like, you know who Scarface is? It's when what's his face came into the league, Chip Kelly, and was like, "You're gonna run my system. I want players that fit my system. I can't fit the players into my system. No. I need the players that will work with my system. I won't work with you. You work with me." That's kind of like that's Scarface to me. So I'd say Chip Kelly is more so Scarface. Mm-hmm. And I would say the first one I would probably go with Kyle.
Nick Sirianni currently.
Yeah.
I like that. Okay. Yeah.
Feed me more. He's saying, I love the optimism around here, but the NFC runs through the Lions, fellas. They had 49 points with 12 minutes left in the third quarter this past week. The North, like you said a minute ago, Jake, man, it's crazy.
Nick Sirianni, I just realized Nick Sirianni is Ben Stiller in dodgeball. That's what Nick Sirianni is. that is Nick
or the
Sirianni.
guy from the other. Yeah. Is that the one where he's like, not kidding, but not really.
Yeah. Nobody makes me bleed my own blood.
Touche. Best line.
Oh, man.
Well, on the topic of movies, we got a ton of super chats surrounding that topic. Feed Me More says Mike looks like a mafia boss in a bad comedy movie right now.
Paul Blart. Paul Blart.
He's getting Paul Blart vibes from top of the division, Mike. And Feed Me More is saying he's getting Alan from the Hangover vibes from Jake. I don't know where that one's coming from, but I think that's hilarious.
Oh, man.
So Dave's asking, because he's saying, right, he's posing the question, if your team was a movie, what would it be right now? He's saying, if I really had to say, Thelma and Louise with a couple of broads getting ready to drive off of a cliff. Go around the table. Jake, right now, what movie would your Rams be heading into week 9?
Oh, I don't know why this is totally off the top of my head. Emperor's New Groove, because you know, they were like, you know, you're the emperor, and then all of a sudden you get turned into the llama, and now you're trying to work your way back up to the top. And they're getting back up to the top, like not very close. They're like, because it's early in the season, but yeah, I'd say Emperor's New Groove, which by the way is the most underrated animated Disney movie ever. I don't know why Disney doesn't promote it, but you know, you got Patrick Warburton and David Spade. Come on now.
Yeah.
Jesse, Dave's thrown out Thelma and Louise. He's thrown out Old School. He's thrown out Scarface. What movie do you view your Niners to be heading into week 9?
Oh man, I remember as a kid, like I was really into like import cars and all that. So I was a big Fast and the Furious guy, but Fast and the Furious 2 was so disappointing. Like the whole cast was ripped apart. It was just terrible. All the excitement for what we thought was going to be a great movie to follow up the first one that we all loved. And it was just trash. So that's the 49ers right now.
In your defense, though, Jesse, they wound up making 19 of those Fast and the Furious. So maybe
they did, and which is even better because the 49ers are on Run It Back season 5. So here we go.
I was just gonna say Fast 5 is my favorite of the bunch. So I guess maybe that could be an omen of some sort. Brandon, what are the Seahawks right now in the cinematic universe?
Man, we're Goonies. We're under the tunnels right now, man. And Mike McDonald, Sean Astin with the retainer in his mouth. And he's like, come on, guys. Now is our time. Now is when we're going to do this. And you don't feel super confident he's saying it, but you're like, I'm with you. I'll keep going down these tunnels. We might die today, but let's go. We might also find the pirate ship with the treasure.
Mike, what's the movie the Cardinals best represent right now?
This is a tough one to choose because I'm looking for like an underdog story. I guess the one that most everybody knows. I gotta go Rocky, man. Especially Rocky 1. Nobody believed in this Arizona Cardinal organization, especially in this roundtable. And I'm not gonna lie, I had my doubts a little bit. I had a little bit of a tiff a couple of weeks back as well. So I would say Rocky.
Dave, by the way, he's challenging you, Jake. He doesn't think Emperor's New Groove the most underrated cartoon movie. He thinks Robots is. These are some deep.
No chance.
I haven't heard this in a while. Robots was a good one.
So there's a thick cult following for Emperor's New Groove. Just go on Twitter. I didn't realize it, but just go on Twitter. I'm telling you, a lot of people are aware. However, it is underrated because Disney doesn't even have any sort of theming at any of their parks for it. So no, definitely the most underrated is Emperor's New Groove. I'll fight anyone on that.
Read me more. He's saying, who in this roundtable would have the best chance on Donald? Is he referring to a comeback from Aaron Donald, or am I missing something there?
Well, it'd be the Rams because he's under the Rams umbrella. It's like if I'm not saying it would happen, but if Jerry Rice were to come back, he retired with the 49ers. So if he came back, he'd be a 49er. Patrick Willis would be a 49er. He wouldn't come back and be a Cardinal or anything like that. So, yeah.
Jerry's eating rice. That commercial I have had.
Oh, I love that.
Not enough of it.
I love that commercial.
I loved it the first time. It's CMC's acting. I'm sorry, Jesse. It's the acting where he's just trying to be so serious in it, and I'm like, man, I don't know what. I think it's just because when you're watching football for 11 hours a day and you see the same commercial for the 15th time every single week, you've had about enough of it. Maybe that's the thing. Like when Andy Reid saying Ramboruski, it just stuck in my head the rest of the day. It's all I can think about.
McConaughey is great in that too. Because like he just sells it.
Yes,
like,
I agree.
Jerry's eating rice.
I agree. Michael Hyde is saying, yo, Brandon, how would you feel if we signed Geno to a cheap 3-year deal, allow Mike to build his team through the draft and free agency, then trade up for Archie Manning if he enters the 2027 draft? Wow, there's a theory.
Let's unpack back to front on that one. Archie Manning is going to go to whoever has the number 1 overall pick, and nobody's trading up to go get him. Much less the fact the Manning family probably wouldn't let a Manning play on the West Coast and probably wouldn't want a Manning playing in Seattle. So there's no chance of that ever probably happening. And I love Archie. I wouldn't, hey, he looks pretty good. Certainly better than Ewers, who I am out on. That guy is not my guy. But no, it doesn't. You're going to go on a low end deal. What's a low end deal? 35, 40 million now in this quarterback market. And if I'm going to pay any kind of substantial money to a quarterback, I better be competing. Let's say nothing of the fact I expect a guy that if I'm paying a lot of substantial money, who's raising the cast around him because of the nature of how much I'm spending that money on him. Not that he expects then the supporting cast there to be step for step. So it's Geno's worthy of doing it. If we had put a better team together, that'd be one thing, but there's too much bad across the line. It's a chance it can get fixed. But to me, if this is trending in the direction it is, and our schedule isn't getting easier, and we're not heading to a better state in the way we look things right now, well, then I'm just going to kind of play this the way it'll probably play out, which is it'll take a while. And that's not the bad thing. It's not the worst thing. You got to get your personnel. There's talent in here, but maybe not talent that fits to McDonald's scheme on top of this, right? Guys that might be good in other areas and different other schemes, but this particular one that wants to be physical and beefy up front and bully ball type mentality, well, you just don't have the guys that quite fit to that right now. So that's going to just take a little bit more time.
I think I speak for the rest of the roundtable when I say, please sign Geno to a 3-year deal.
Yeah.
Who was thinking the same thing here? Ruiz was. He's saying squeaking squeakers, mofos. He I think he's ready to sign Geno up and hopefully have the.
It's from Emperor's New Groove.
Yeah,
that's an Emperor's New Groove quote.
It is. Yep.
Wow, you guys are pulling out deep lore right now. I thought he was talking about the sea squawks like everybody seemed. That's what I thought he was going with. We got a whole lot of Emperor's New Groove fans apparently. Ruiz,
let's go.
Christopher, aka Sizzle. Emperor's New Groove is amazing. Whoa. Man, my brain just got a little bit scrambled on that one, Chris. Emperor's New Groove is amazing, Jake, I think is what we were getting at here. Most underrated Disney movie, to be sure, along with Hercules, A Bug's Life, as well as an honorable mention. Now, that's a good one. They don't make
that one a lot.
On that one. The crazy thing about all those movies, too, is how they were animated back then. They all still hold up. Like, you can barely tell that they were made 20-some-odd years ago.
Absolutely. Dinosaur? Have you seen Dinosaur?
Oh, yeah.
Like, what?
It's crazy.
Like, how'd they do that back then? Like, that's better than some of the shit now.
I know. Shrek's 20 years old. And if you rewatch Shrek, man, this is...
Oh, Shrek's goated.
This is the best, you know?
Yeah.
808, he thinks the Niners movie, by the way, would be The Pretenders. Bang, bang.
Nice.
That's where he's at with it. And we're at with it, fellas. Who was speaking? Go ahead. I missed it.
I got a quick question for kind of the panel on this one in regards to the Rams game, because I get annoyed at this when you get fans that do this type of thing. And I got annoyed with it. You see it nationally sweep across, which is that game to me was about your Rams winning because you stopped the run. Aaron Jones goes crazy. You stop down the run. That's a game where you can point to a moment like Sam Darnold. If you're going to point to one moment, it's a moment where Sam Darnold is moving up in the pocket. He's got 4 yards in front of him, but he has a Darnold malfunction moment, which is exactly who he is as a damn quarterback and why I don't like him, because no matter how pretty the throws are early on, the guy's head will go defunct at the wrong time. So instead of just taking the 4 or 5 yard run, he decides to sidearm the ball in, and a haphazard throw that's incomplete at that point, just a stupid play. Yet everyone wants to come back and get caught up on this final conclusion play of a face mask.
Love you, Brandon.
And I really hate it because there's 140 plays in a football game, and people get caught up on these one little plays that just become this point of obsession for them. It's like, that's not the reason. And okay, let's say they call the damn penalty. They still got to go 80 yards up the field, score a touchdown, and get the 2-point conversion in addition to it. What are we talking about here? Letting that thing be this thing that's going to be the carrying narrative as opposed to the adjustments the Rams made. It was a good football game on prime time. Don't get a lot of those. And they won the game. They earned the right to come away with that victory there.
No, I absolutely agree with you. And I have no issue with Vikings fans having an issue with the call, but people are acting, and this, to your point exactly, when this gets nationally like televised, now everyone takes away the credit. Not everybody, people that know football don't, but a lot of people took away the credit of the Rams. Now it's, the refs jobbed the Vikings. It's like, no. It's like that. This game, okay, the Rams were down in this game 14-7. They had to crawl out, and then eventually they punched back and they kind of took control of the game. And to your point, they made adjustments. They made some really key and critical adjustments. And they basically said the game plan was, we're going to bracket Justin Jefferson to make sure he doesn't score on us, but he can get however many yards he wants in between the 20s. And everyone else, they're going to hold down. And Aaron Jones, they were able to stop the run. They haven't been able to do that for the most part all year. So to your point, yes, I mean, more plays come involved. And I mean, I have to do a better job as well. Like the Lions game, they had plenty of opportunities, and I got pissed at the no call on Puka Nacua. But then I would also say, why were people not as upset about the Puka Nacua no call in a playoff game as they were on a Thursday night football game? That's what I'll never understand. But yeah, it's annoying because it feels like a lot of these Rams wins, there's always something at the end. You had the bad play, against the Saints, of course, everyone knows, I'll admit. I mean, it was pass interference, in the NFC title game. You had the Bengals, of course. It's just always something. So I've just gotten used to it. Like if the Rams win and it's prime time and it's a close game, unless they blow out the team, which they don't really blow out a lot of teams, but if it's a close win, there's always going to be something at the end where people pick, and I think a lot of that stems, and maybe people will disagree with me, but I think a lot of that stems from the Rams moving from St. Louis. I think people still have some bitterness about the Rams leaving St. Louis, and, they forget about the facts. Nothing against St. Louis fans in here, but they didn't show up after the greatest show on turf. They did not show up to that stadium. They were one of the last teams in the league in attendance. I'm a fan of the Rams, no matter if they're in Alaska, New York, LA, I don't care where they are. But I can tell you, unbiased, I mean, that's what happened. And so I think a lot of people who hate Stan Kroenke, because that was like a common thing, they still kind of throw jabs at the Rams. That's why they were rooting for the Patriots of all teams in the Super Bowl against the Rams in 2018.
We talked about this. Okay. I was just say real quick, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago and ways to fix the NFL. And the NFL is playing this really arrogant game, man. They really are. And they do it with the refs. I mean, some of these games have become unwatchable. That game was not one of them. I agree. That's not at all why that game was won or lost. But literally, some of these games have been unwatchable because of these refs. You have a league that is worth this much money and you don't have full-time employees as your referees. That is absolutely crazy to me, because now you can't hold them accountable the way that you should be able to hold them accountable, fine them the way that you should be able to fine them. There is no real serious accountability for these guys, and that is a major, major issue.
Jordan coming in, he's saying, my only thing with the no call on the Rams is on the refs and not the loss. It was as bad as the refs are at my job, I would be fired so fast. To your point there, Jesse. Dave saying didn't mind the no call, but to say you didn't see it. And then we have Feed Me, or who do we have here? Mike A. He said that wasn't the only face mask call missed. Refs sucked all night on both sides. Refs going to ref. Still a great W. More to come for the Rams. I think that's the overall point here. Back to Brandon's point, the people complaining about that call in pursuit of a Vikings W, that's not the way to complain about it. But to complain about missing that call is certainly justified. And it goes back to what you were just saying, Jesse. It is an issue when those calls go uncalled. Yet in the Bills-Seahawks game, there are 24 flags throughout the game where every single snap has laundry on the field. So how do you have one game where you're missing a blatant flag like that could potentially have had an outcome on the game at the end? How are you missing that? But in other games, like you had mentioned, some of them are becoming unwatchable. Like the Bills this year are in the 2 highest flagged games of the year. And one was a publicly televised game or a nationally televised game. The Jets Monday Night Football, right? That was unbearably bad. And then Brandon will tell you, and anybody who watched that game, it was just unbelievable. Anytime something happened, you were waiting for a flag on the play. So right now, the NFL is in a situation where I don't know what they do, but you have to assume they don't do anything because it feels like
full-time refs, like Jesse said, that's the number one no-brainer. Why not? Why? Right. You don't have the money?
No, that's a load of shit. I agree. I'll say this, to the point of the super chat, Kyron Williams on that 3rd down. I know it's 3rd and long. He's not going to get the first down, but he does get face masked. That would have abruptly ended the game because the Rams would have just run out the clock. So I understand. I don't like doing that though. I know a lot of Rams fans, we had this. I don't like getting into this, that. What I've realized as I've gotten older is that I just think it's part of the game. And I have an issue with it just as much as I have an issue with these umpires who I don't know why baseball didn't pick any of the top 30 umpires. They took everyone outside the top 30. They don't have one of the top umpires in baseball right now, umpiring the World Series. But it's also part of the game. So I guess really, unfortunately, and it sucks because you have these great teams and you're going to have a Super Bowl, and Super Bowls are almost always close if it's 2 good teams that are, relatively close in, talent wise. Unfortunately, the reality is you have to be able to finish through that. And there are some awful calls. I mean, we could bring it up all the time and everything, but I think I've just learned you just have to find a way to play through it. And, it's one of those things where it's I had some issues in the Lions game in week 1, but it's they lost that game because they ran out of gas, and it's no different than any other game. You can't say, oh, well, if we didn't run out of stamina, it's no, that's literally part of the game. It's kind of how I've just grown to realize at the end of the year in the Super Bowl, Rams fans, including myself, always just say, well, the Patriots were lucky we didn't have Cooper Kupp. And then the next year, Cooper Kupp showed up and everyone's like, oh, okay, they might have actually been lucky Cooper Kupp didn't play. That's not the name of the game. It's survival of the fittest. And I think I've been realizing that over the last few years. You get to the Super Bowl, there's no, we would have won if we had this, this, and this. No, it's no different. Dre Greenlaw, the injury sucked for the 49ers, but it's also part of the test. The test is getting there. It's not easy to get all the way to the end. And when you get to the end, these guys are playing way more games than what's expected of them. And so at that point, whoever is left standing is going to win. That's all part of the game. And I think it kind of gets lost in translation because, people want to say, well, this, and this happened. It's but who scored the most points at the end of the day? And it's that's just what I've realized over the last few years. And I try to do a better job of understanding that. The same thing with the Saints call. Bad call, but the Saints had the ball in overtime in that NFC title game. I always say that. They had a chance and they threw an interception. The same thing. The Rams have had opportunities. They had bad calls in the Bears and the Packers game. They had a chance at the end of the game. They did not get it done. So I think that's just really what it is. And I understand people are going to complain, but that's just the way it is.
Feed Me More is saying, can we talk about the dirty hit on Herbert? That was one of the worst ones I've seen in a while. The twist of the leg on the ground there. People are arguing that the defender thought Herbert still had the ball, but man, that one was a tough watch. He completely twisted the leg, bringing down Herbert like a sack of potatoes. That was brutal.
Gator roll.
Is he okay, by the way? I didn't see that.
I believe so.
I think he's fine. Yeah.
Bad though, man. That one was a tough watch. Eric coming in with a late show banger. Shout out to Eric, who's coming in saying, give Geno an offensive-minded coach, let alone an offensive master like Kyle or Sean, and I bet he would be winning. Give him amazing tight end like McBride or bruising run attack like the Cards have and see those weapons. Brandon, real quick, your thoughts on that, because that's always been the argument in Buffalo. Well, if Sean McDermott wasn't there and they had an offensive head coach, meanwhile, no one's considering the fact that the defense would probably suffer dramatically because of it. But your thoughts on Geno being in a different situation in terms of how the overall offense is run through the top and how that might affect his game?
Well, and I know I've said it to you guys in the chat on this before. That's the base point I come down to is that I can take any quarterback in the league, and if I give you a craptastic defense that lives on the football field that can get nothing done, I've already told you guys, and nobody's disagreed with me on this. You're getting nothing done defensively. I do that for a couple-year period. I give you an offensive line that's league worst, both in pass protection and how they run the ball. I give you an offensive coordinator that's not running his full playbook, and it's rudimentary. And every time you run the ball, they see where the run's going. I mean, Z-Bot, how many times in this game when we were running the ball did your Buffalo Bills defenders take 1, 2, 3 steps towards where the run was going? Not that they didn't know whether it was running past, but they knew exactly precisely where the run was going. So you take all that and you put it on the table. I don't think there's a quarterback in the NFL, not even Mahomes, not even Allen, that succeeds in that environment, not even those wonder kids that they are. I think everybody fails. Does that mean now 100% that I know for a fact Geno would be a success in another place? No, but I think I've got a good suspicion being that he's held the line pretty well dealing with those parameters for 2.5 years. Give him some of that stuff working in his favor for once. Yeah, you're going to see a better Geno. Yeah, he'd be able to go out there and show you what he could really do, which he can't do right now.
Dave's going back to the movie ideas in terms of what teams could be considered a movie. He said the Bills, Born Identity. Yeah, maybe throughout the regular season, Dave. We'll see about the postseason. Cardinals, Step Brothers. Our Lego Batman. That's a poll. Rams could be gone in 60 seconds. And Niners
Step Brothers
training day. I take training day all day, Jess. That's one of my faves. I love training day.
I love training day.
Wait, Lego Batman? What?
Batman. Yeah.
That's a great dude. Lego Batman is a great. If you've never seen it, I promise you, as an adult, you will laugh your ass off. Lego Batman's a great movie. My kids love it, but I might like it even more. That's the crazy thing.
Those Lego movies are crazy well done.
Cardinals.
So funny. It's so funny.
I gotta say the Cardinals deserve a good one because right now, I mean, I just looked at it. Their strength of schedule. Maybe I'm wrong, right? I don't know. Let's see.
It's loosening it up right now, but we started off really, really tough.
I thought your strength of schedule was insane, but I could be wrong.
Even
it is insane. Are you kidding me? You're playing a 6-7 team strength of schedule.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's above. So we talk about above 500, right? You're playing above 600 strength of schedule, Mike. Like we got to give the Cardinals their flowers here. I mean, right now we're talking about a team who, they're at the top of the NFC West right now. They have tiebreakers over the Rams and 49ers, right? You haven't played Seattle yet, right?
Nope, not yet. Nope.
So if you win that Seattle game, you have tiebreakers over every team in the division.
Yeah.
And you've been battle tested. Yeah, I mean, that one game you lost to the Bills, I mean, that was, people were like, oh, that was pretty interesting, but pretty fluky. Then you come out and you win a 41-10 ball game against the Rams. Then you barely lose to the Lions. Then you get blown out by the Commanders, which I think kind of calmed down the talk about the Cardinals. Like, okay, they're schmucks. But then they beat the 49ers. Then they lose to the Packers. But then they come back and they win on primetime against the Chargers. They just had a really impressive win, in my opinion, against the Dolphins. I don't think it's easy to win in Miami. I don't. And I don't think it's easy to win when Tua's back. Because I think, does anyone notice Tyreek Hill doesn't care about football when just people can say what they will about Tua Tagovailoa, oh, how terrible he is. Tyreek Hill has been just invisible. As great as we talk about him, and as great as people say he's the best receiver in the league, he was invisible without Tua Tagovailoa. I don't even want to hear another negative comment from Dolphins fans about Tua ever again. Because that team without Tua is nothing. McDaniel did nothing. He did nothing. And I watched Huntley win games for the Ravens. So how good is McDaniel? And how bad really is Tua? I don't know. So I credit the Cardinals. That was probably the biggest win of the year, I think. To go on the road. No, that was a big win. It really was. And they did it at the end of the game too. So now you got the Bears. You got the Jets, Seattle, in Minnesota. Cardinals have to earn it, but they're doing a nice job. So I wanted to give you your props. I don't feel like I gave that earlier, but definitely worth looking at.
Dave's saying I didn't read the full super chat earlier. I got to get back to more of what he had for us in terms of movie comparisons. And he also had a personalized movie for Jacob.
Oh, good Lord.
Jacob. I thought it was the Gone in 60 Seconds. I've never heard of the movie.
I haven't either.
Jake, are you a big
That's the Nicolas Cage one.
Yeah,
Nicolas Cage, Angelina Jolie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So McVay will be Nicolas Cage and Stafford be Angelina.
Well, apparently
I don't think I've
Denzel
ever heard
training
that.
day, by the way, which, we know how that turns out for Denzel in training day. So I hopefully Kyle has a better fate. But
We need a horror movie, man. It's almost Halloween.
yeah, maybe the new Terrifier or something everybody's vomiting at when they're going to the theater or whatever. Maybe that'll be one of them. I don't know.
I still need to watch it. I also need to see Longlegs. I heard
love
that's really good.
Longlegs. I would recommend that. I enjoyed it in the theater. That one was real good.
Oh, Dave just dropped the mother loads.
Whoa.
Whoa.
How about Dave? That was an absolute atom bomb on us late in the show. Dave's coming in just for you guys and the guys in the chat that want to say things but can't afford it. Appreciate you guys. Dave,
thanks, Dave.
Appreciate you, brother. And I apologize for not reading the whole chat because, like I said, you're firing them off like I've never seen before. I think sometimes I have it all down and maybe I don't. But Dave and everybody, by the way, super chats or not, we appreciate all of you. The audience this year has been terrific. And as we continue to watch this division get more and more competitive, it's been that much more fun having you guys along for the ride. So Dave, super chats, and everybody who tunes in, man, we all collectively really appreciate it. We talk about it off air all the time, and it's a lot of love from our end for you guys. Speaking of love, Alex is throwing a little love my way. He's saying shout out to Z-Bot being the best host of all the roundtables, and what Chase is doing to him is bullshit. Pretty sure Lyle did it. Long story short, my wife and I got our bank account closed up, and we have no access to our money. So it's been a crazy couple of days here that we've been trying to work with the bank. But
oh my God.
Yeah, hopefully it's resolved by the next time I sit down with you guys. But Alex, I appreciate the love. And like I said, I'll keep you updated. I don't think Lyle did have anything to do with it, but I had a feeling somebody would have assumed that if anybody had anything to do with some sort of fraudulent accusation, perhaps, then maybe that Lyle would be thrown in there at some point. Like Dave here. Lyle Lenzel Lyle, right?
Lyle Lenzel Levy? What?
Levy. Oh man, that's a
triple L.
It's like a literal
Levy. I think it Levy, like Marv Levy.
Oh, well, he's got a couple more to get to before he gets on Marv Levy's level. He's got 2 more, I think, to lose in the Super Bowl before he gets on Marv Levy's level. And Marv did it in 4 straight years, Dave. I don't think Lyle's got 4 straight in him. What Marv did was unprecedented. Nobody will ever lose 4 straight. It's the greatest failure in the history of professional sport. It gets you in the Hall of Fame, by the way. That's how good the Bills were in that situation while still losing. That entire team, for the most part, found their way into Canton. Dave, is there a real-life football for dummies book for Lyle? He's feeling that Lyle might need to brush up. Remember those back in the day before Reddit existed, fellas, when you had to go buy a book for dummies so you could read on how to do something?
Oh, yeah.
808 Niner. Tortoise in the hair. Lyle gets a lead and loses. Damn. Every week, man, even off of a W, it's just it's crazy. And then we have holiest hand grenade. Is Dave's secretary Jeff Bazin with these donos? Yeah, no, Dave could have a secret share in Amazon. He could be part owner, Dave. And that's why he's coming up with all these movies. He might be working for Amazon Prime. He could be.
Okay.
Who knows? Who knows?
That's impressive.
It is.
A future Seahawks owner.
That was the rumor, right? That's coming down the pipeline. Well, there you go. I mean, if it were MLB, I would say, Brandon, you'd be in some pretty good shape here. And Seahawks would go just buy anybody they wanted, but we'll see.
Yeah, hey, look, I just want an owner that's willing to spend. There's a lot of cheapskate owners in this NFL. I know the people, Bezos has a lot of derision out there from people who hate his practices, and I don't push back on any of that, but I've been with cheapskate owners. I've seen that. I don't want to go back down that line again.
No doubt about it. That would be interesting, though, man. I would wonder how he would be in terms of a press situation. If he would be more, if he'd be more of the Irsay and Joneses of the world where you hear from him often, or like the rest of the league where you don't hear much at all. That would be interesting to me. But if you're looking for an owner to spend, Brandon, I think that would be the guy you'd probably want. So, wow, I'm looking up at the clock, fellas. We're $1:20 into this. This show was terrific. I had a feeling it would be because this division is as tight as it gets, and we're coming off of a weekend here of some terrific football. And we went 120 in talking about it, and it was a hell of a show. We appreciate everyone who tuned in, who sent some chats in. we had a ball. On the way out the door, a couple of things I want to remind you of. First of all, our friends over at Autograph. The link is in the description below. It's also pinned in the live chat. You click the link, you download the app. It's completely free. Use the promo code RTS. Once you download it, you select your favorite team. It's going to set up a personalized fandom feed that has all your top articles, podcasts, shows. You can even watch us on there if you'd like. Everything to do with your favorite team all in one spot. And the beauty of it, you're already consuming the content. If you do so within the Autograph app, you earn fan coins. And those fan coins can be used towards tickets, towards jerseys, a variety of things. So you're already doing it. You might as well get rewarded for it. Click the link in the description below or the live chat. Download the Autograph app. Use the promo code RTS. And you'll be all set up. Also, on your way out the door, before I mentioned BetUS and the lines, I want to also mention that if you happen to miss this show in the future, or you just want to re-listen to how many Lyle puns we can fit into an episode, head on over to Spotify, type in NFC West Roundtable. You can follow or subscribe to the podcast right on Spotify, and you can take the NFC West Roundtable anywhere with you. No longer do you have to rewatch it on YouTube. You can listen to it in the car or through your headphones at the gym. Wherever you're at, you can take NFC West Roundtable with you on Spotify. The show's currently available on the app. You can listen to previous episodes and all future episodes right on Spotify, which is awesome. I've been waiting to do this, fellas. It's great. I think we're going to get a lot more people to be able to go down the avenue that they like to listen to shows best with. So available on Spotify moving forward here. And then back to BetUS, where I still can't get over the resurgence of the Rams on this line and the overall tightness of this. The fact that the Niners are at minus 125, but everybody else is within 50 points of one another. This just goes to show you, folks, Vegas and BetUS and money, it just doesn't lie. It tells you the makeup of what games are, seasons are, divisions are. You're seeing right here on BetUS just how wild of a division you are currently watching your favorite team compete within. The Niners, minus 125, the favorite to win it, but right behind them, you have the Cardinals, the Rams, and the Seahawks all within a couple of points of one another. Craziness. And I think, unless you're a Niners fan, it's worth taking a taste on one of your favorite teams in this division at this plus money here. And if you want to, you can use the promo code YouTube150. And that'll get you a 150% sign-up bonus up to $2,000 on your first deposit with BetUS and 125% bonus on your next two after that. Dave, I'm not going to leave you hanging. I saw we had one more here before we round out. Dave saying, if I was the future Seahawks owner, I'd close the doors.
Awesome.
How about we close the door on this show, fellas? I don't want to upset Brandon because I think the last person, even though Dave seems to maybe have the super chat funds to buy the Seahawks, I don't think Brandon's all that happy about the idea of him closing the door on his Seahawks. So
we've had no one to try that.
yeah, he comes in and closes the door, Dave. But then Dave, you'd have one less team to complain about Lyle against twice a year. So think about it that way. Keep the Seahawks lights on. We're going to close the door on this episode tonight, fellas. Week 8 recap in the books. Hell of an episode, and we appreciate everybody who tuned in. Once again, on your way out the door, like button, subscribe button if you could, and BetUS with that 150% sign-up bonus. Just use the promo code YouTube150. It gets you 150% sign-up bonus up to $2,000 on your first deposit. All right, for Jake, Jesse, Mike, and Brandon, I'm your host, Z-Bot. Thanks so much for tuning in to the NFC West Roundtable, and we'll see you on the next one.
Go Cardinals.